God's wrath. God's wrath. God gets angry. God has a reserved wrath to serve justice to this earth. In a smaller scale, we can all understand this wrath because we all feel within us a thirst for justice, thirst and hunger for justice, that we all desire that may be served in this world. Because when we look at wrong things, and they are called right, and the right ones being called wrong, when we see injustices prevailing in this world within us, there's a shout, there's a cry out, an uneasiness that says, this cannot be like this. It's not fair, my God. It's not fair that you, Lord, will not correct this, that's it. Am I right? We all feel this wrath, this thirst and hunger for righteousness that comes from God. As He created us in His image and likeness, just as we also feel wrath and hunger and thirst for righteousness, He also does. And here is the greatest problem for us. Because if you want God's justice in this world, then you will suffer some of it. It will splash on you, unless you have resolved that beforehand. But let's talk more about the wrath of God. In Colossians 3:6 it says that the wrath of God comes upon some, and for some reasons as well. It says, therefore put to death your members which are on the earth. Put to death your members which are on the earth, which means to kill our desires that are against God and ourselves, against our neighbor. Because you know that we have good and bad desires, and the bad ones we need to put to death. It's what he's saying here. Therefore, put to death your members which are on the earth, which means the body. Fornication, which is the sexual practice, unbridled practice outside of the marriage. Uncleanness, all that is dirty, vile, everything that pollutes the good mind and conscience. And there are several things that can do that to us. For example, how often I don't know if your conscience still accuses you because after a while the person has their conscience seared. But at least in the beginning, you would do certain things and your conscience will weigh you down. This is not right. Why? Because that was unclean. And you shouldn't bring that to your life. God gave us this inner compass called conscience that we may have some sense of direction in life, that no one may be able to complain later that they didn't know. Passion, the unbridled affections, passions. We are prone to passions, whether for people. At times, people are passionate for people. You can see that in the case of stalkers. Stalkers are those who are obsessed by others and they are going after someone who is famous, a public person, and they are chasing that person. An unbridled affection. But you may say, I'm not a stalker. I'm talking about an extreme. But there are different kinds of passions that are also unbridled. Some people who lose control of their affections, of their feelings, their desires, and they start to live for that thing. Some do that for a profession, others for a sport, others for an idol, others for their body. Am I right? Some, they take this unbridled affection for their beauty. They're obsessed with their body. They want to look physically perfect. It doesn't matter if it is through hours on the gym or taking medicine, plastic surgeries. They are obsessed by their own beauty, and so on and so forth. There are unbridled affections for all tastes, for money, for fame, and the list goes on and on. So, uncleanness, passion, evil desire. Desire that is vile, meaning with no value. The opposite of virtue is evil, vile. It is something that you shouldn't value. You shouldn't give to it any importance. There are desires in us, and what should we do with it? Throw them away. There are thoughts that come to our heart and mind, and they are vile. There are things that we wouldn't want anyone to do to us. So if you don't want for yourself, you shouldn't desire to do that against someone else. There are desires that come to us that we need to throw them away. Just as the garbage you have in your house and you take it out for the bin man to take it away, likewise, daily, you need to do this mental hygiene. Throw away these vile thoughts that surge in your mind, that it's not even good for us to mention here. It's not even good for you to speak, much less to think about them. The best strategy in regards to these vile desires is to chase them away and to throw them in the bin. Get out of me. I don't want to think about it. It is tied up. Flick the channel and think about something else. These are the evil desires. Understand that this list here, I just want to remind you that there are things that attract God's wrath. So I'm telling you how to avoid God's wrath to come upon you. Evil desire and covetousness, which is the love for money, attachment to money, obsession for wealth, for having money, especially illicit money, but also the one that comes from your labor, is covetousness in general. A covetous person disregards reasoning and rules. And if they can take advantage of someone and steal from someone, they will. And then the scammers come about, the thieves. There are many thieves that steal. And they don't steal only their neighbor, the other human. They steal from the government, even God. Or even God escapes from them. Did you know that? That not even God can escape from the thieves. He says in His word, will men rob God? It's absurd. The answer can only be, for God's name's sake. No, never. Rob from God? Never. Yes, that should be the attitude, but He answers, nonetheless, you rob me. When you keep what is mine, the first fruits, my honor. So, stealing is the fruit of this covetousness that many keep within them, and because of this covetousness, they lie, they create scams and different ways to take advantage in order to gain extra money. It's the businessman, the owner of the company that reduce the quality of their products to increase their profit. The client pay something, but they take something else. Isn't that what is happening? Likewise, the employee is stealing from the boss. staying hours in the bathroom with no work. They present fake documents. They steal the client from the boss. The company teaches the employee, they learn the work, the trade, and they steal the clients from the boss and they open their own business. Isn't that what happens in this world? This is the norm. This is the common thing. And they call themselves wise. Yes, covetousness. And he says, which is idolatry. He calls covetousness idolatry because the God of these people is mammon, is money. So he concludes, because of these things, the wrath of God is coming upon the sons of disobedience. The wrath of God is coming upon the sons of disobedience, those who don't care for their parents, God. They provoke God's wrath, and they pay a high price. At times you don't understand certain things that happen to certain people. You don't understand, but God does. That person planted and they reaped God's wrath upon their lives. That we may not have God's wrath upon us, we need to fear Him, obey Him, and believing with this fear and obedience, not just for the sake of saying it, as it's written in the Gospel of John, he who believes in the Son has everlasting life, and he who does not believe the Son shall not see life, but the wrath of God abides on him. To believe in the Son, in Jesus, is not to believe like the devil does. To believe in Jesus is to believe with fear and trembling, to believe in His word. Because if you don't believe in the one who was sacrificed for your salvation, there's no more hope for you. There's nothing else that can be done for you. God won't do anything else that He has already done apart from the sacrifice of His Son. But if you stomp over the sacrifice of His Son, the only thing that is left for you is the wrath of God. And the only thing I can tell you, if you want to try to test God's wrath, is good luck, because you'll find bad luck without a doubt. If today's video helped you and you know someone that could benefit from it, share it with them, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel, you may do so now. See you later.